Hey everybody, it's Matt here, and today we're doing the first episode of the newest series on this channel, Mobile Madness! Now, today we are going to be talking about Steven Universe Attack the Light. But first things first, before we get to the game, I want to get something out of the way. So, why mobile games, right? I mean, this is a channel that does not focus on mobile games. If you look at us on our other channels, like the one specifically around gaming, like those guys play, Lost in Translation, and also Tutorial Level, we don't talk about mobile games. So, why mobile gaming all of a sudden? So, a few things. When it comes to mobile games, I'm not really usually into them because of the fact that I want to not spend money. I like that initially for some mobile games, for many of them, you're not really spending money initially, but I don't want to spend any money whatsoever. The closest to $0 I can spend is a time well spent with mobile games. Also, I had a phone that it's called an LG Dynasty, an LG Tribute Dynasty, and if you look at it, it's a rather old phone. It could not really play a lot of mobile games, and if it could, when it came to this game, I could actually play this game, and I really wanted to talk about it and review it on this channel because it was such a fun game when I played it, but I couldn't record footage. So now, because that phone it just completely broke down. Don't even want to get into the whys and the hows, but it couldn't retain time and it would freeze after a minute. So I said, I need a new phone. But again, remember that whole not wanting to spend money thing. So I actually got a 4-year-old phone called the Samsung Galaxy S10, and I got it refurbished, so it's actually under $200. And so I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, man, this is a really cool phone. And then I'm seeing that it can actually play a lot of the latest apps because I was just out of that loop for years. So I thought about it and I was like, can I play more mobile games and maybe even talk about them and do some reviews, try to talk about some that you all can also play and not have to spend any kind of pennies on, really. I mean, again, the least amount of money as possible. Maybe? So here we are. And the phone could record footage, which had me freaking out. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. I can actually do this right now. I can record footage from my phone, transfer that over to my computer, and actually edit it like we're doing right now with this whole review. Yes, I can. Welcome to the year 2022, me. So either way, though, let's actually talk about this game. So if you're not familiar with Steven Universe, it came out in 2013. And I don't like that. I don't like age. I don't like aging. I'm currently 30. It should not have come out 9 years ago. I was going to say 7. 9 years ago is when the show came out. And I initially saw the first 3 seasons. I really enjoyed it. I was actually doing a podcast with Satish, who you might not know. I don't believe he's been on this channel much, but he actually has been on Those Guys Play channel, especially in the early years. And a bit of a recent comeback with some videos that we have there and coming out there. But when it comes to Steven Universe, he and I were doing a podcast. That ended up not working out because of time issues and stuff like that. And so just other time stuff came up in the way, and I just couldn't end up continuing this series. But I really wanted to play this game. So when I found out that this game existed, and that there are 2 other ones on the Switch, and that this is actually canonically the first in the series of those 3 games, I was like, wow, I want to pick this up. And it was only $3. Now, we'll get to some other stuff about the game later and if it's worth it, etc., in more detail. But at $3, I was like, all right, I really want to pick this up because, again, if you're not familiar with the show, it stars Steven, Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl. All of them are crystal gems. 3 of them are crystal gems that were involved in a war long, long ago on their home planet. And I won't get too into it, won't get too into spoilers and stuff like that, but Steven's mom actually had to give up her physical form to birth Steven. So essentially, she died in childbirth. And his dad is still around. His name is Greg Universe. Universe is his real last name. His name is Greg. He lives in a van down by the river. Yes, that is a reference, and yes, he actually does. He runs a car wash. He really does live out of the van, and he's looked at as this kind of like screw up with a heart of gold, very much like a Homer Simpson without the strangling. Yes, literally. And I really do enjoy him so much, and I enjoy his character and his love for Steven unconditionally and how they interact. And the show is very wholesome, and I really do enjoy it. I think that there's a lot of drama there underneath the surface that you don't think it's going to be there because it's a Cartoon Network show. You know, I remember when I was growing up, there were a lot of sitcoms, and there were jokes that went over our head, but it was really more of a sitcom-based Cartoon Network show until you got to like Toonami, which was like taking stuff from kids shows in Japan, like anime and whatnot, and adapting that for U.S. television. But when it came to kids cartoons when I was a kid, it was mostly the sitcom format. In this case, it's actually long-form storytelling while also doing doing serialized stories. It's fascinating. They're only 11 minutes apiece. They're all on HBO Max. They somehow weren't removed, and I definitely suggest watching them if you haven't. And if you don't want to support HBO Max, they're also on Hulu as well. Now, do you need to know all that to play this game? And here's the thing. I would argue yes and no. So this game is actually a turn-based RPG of all things, because when you actually watch the show, you notice that Steven, and also obviously the creators as well, are actually huge fans of RPGs and huge fans of video games. There's references littered throughout the show, and here, of course, because it is a turn-based RPG, it is no different. It starts off with Steven actually talking about this game, how much he loves RPGs. So it is unabashedly a love letter to turn-based RPGs, like, of course, your Final Fantasies, your Chrono Trigger, and also, especially with the way it looks and the way it plays, in my opinion, the Paper Mario series. At least the early Paper Mario series, like the original one and the one on the GameCube. Now, when it comes to gameplay, of course, because it is on a phone, it is touchpad based. So if you're not a fan of that and you want to skip the game just based on that, totally understand. I don't judge you. For me personally, I think it is, you can get used to it, but I will say this much though, if you do have, because when I played it originally on my LG Tribute Dynasty, the whole name of the phone, I actually was doing really well. I picked it up within about maybe 30 minutes or so. I was kicking so much butt. When it came to this new phone, I was doing worse, and I didn't really understand why. The phone protector actually was screwing me up, which kind of sounds like I'm saying the controller is broken, or like, oh no, it's not me, it's the analog stick. But like, actually though, it was not me. Like, when it came to the original phone, I was doing a great job. When it came to this one, it was having, just some issues registering my touches. I was just a little bit slow, and by the way, like Paper Mario, either one, you can actually tap at the right time to actually do double damage. Now, when it comes to the story of this game, it's a rather simple story, something that would actually happen in the show, very much plucked right out of the show, honestly. So you have Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl who go on missions to bubble up these items, either from gem lore that could potentially destroy the world, or even creatures that they fought to actually just, keep them safe and keep them away from just kind of hurting people, because these creatures don't really mostly understand what's going on other than they are in an environment and they must attack. So they had this item that they thought, well, you really shouldn't touch it if you're a powerful gem, but, it's Steven, so Steven can touch the item because, he's a little kid, he's half human, half gem, he's gonna be fine. He doesn't really know his powers just yet, but he touches it, and then things go wonky, and creatures come from it, and they have to go find those creatures in 4 different worlds. Actually, 5 different worlds. But there are 4 to 5 areas within each world that have bosses within them, and also have separate secret routes that you can get, because this game actually goes deeper than you'd think. Now, mind you, it's not like a 40-hour experience or anything like that. It really is like a 7 to 8 hour experience. Could be longer if you're dying a lot, not getting used to the game. But they actually do have some extra like hard modes that take away, specifically hard areas, that completely take away all of your items. Because in this game, just like any old RPG, you can use items. You have something called star points that you can only use X amount throughout the level or throughout the phase. So because you can only use X amount, you actually have to really strategize which member of the Crystal Gems you're going to use. Now, Steven, not being a fighter, is actually the healer of the team. So if you're running out of items, you actually can use him to heal the team or heal some people on the team if necessary. Just like any RPG, you can level up. You can max out your level, so you don't max out your stats, but you can max out your level. So you do have to choose wisely what you're going to do when you level up. You can actually level up some stats like your attack, your defense, your lucky, which lucky is very important in my opinion, because getting lucky, if you level up that stat, can end up increasing your damage very much. And there are some tanks when you're actually fighting some of these monsters. Some that you actually have to always essentially use one of Garnet's abilities, because these characters do have abilities, which is like a shield down. And if you get it at the exact right time, you time that just right, you can also do damage as well. So when it comes to this game, you obviously, again, standard RPG tropes like items, abilities, a set amount of points each turn. They are very, by the way, plentiful with the items that they give you, but to be fair, you just don't have to use them if you want to make the game even harder, although there is a harder mode, because this game was originally released in 2015. When it was ported to phones, they did do an update that allowed you to, or at least Android phones specifically, they did an update that allowed you to have like a platinum mode, which is a even more difficult mode, but you just don't have to do that if you don't want to. I stuck to easy personally. I was just fine with that. But when it comes to the amount of items, like I said, they give you a lot of them. It's very interesting because when you go to different areas, the enemies have different abilities and skills themselves. So it's not just, oh, hey, there's a tank in every one, right? And I say tank is referring to like, a powerhouse, a beast in terms of health. Well, it's not just that. Some of them will be able to poison you. Some of them will be able to actually burn you. You can actually get items to burn them as well, or to poison them. So depending on what enemy you're fighting in what area, you can actually get the upper hand just by the type of items that you use, or even the type of badges. Now when it comes to badges, you can actually get those in different ways. So each and every level has a treasure chest. When it comes to the treasure chests, you actually should be getting all of them. You should be getting all the items in all of them. Thankfully, you can't max out on items. You can get as many items as you need. And when it comes to treasure chests, yes, you can also get items as well to help you with your health. Many of them are references to the show itself, so you are losing that reference if you don't know the show, but at the same time, though, it just tells you what it does. It's not like it's like a secret or something. Now, when it comes to the treasure chests giving you badges, those can be equipped per gem. You can actually, when leveling up your stats, get an extra badge slot, and because you can do that, you can actually have not only more badges, but more badges that can help the entire team in terms of the amount of experience points you gain. You can also help the team in terms of really any other status function if necessary. So when it comes to these badges, they are very important. Do not skip out on them while playing the game. I think they add another nice wrinkle to the game. Again, you can just play badgeless if you want to go even in a harder mode, but personally I enjoy using them because there are some that are specific to each gem, and they also increase your overall percentage of completion. So when you get X amount of treasure chests in each level, you can also get X amount of badges, and then the badges themselves even just add to your total percentage, which is important if you want 100% this. You don't have to beat the game, but if you want to, and also in some of the harder areas that take away your items completely, you still keep the badges. Now, how do you get to these areas, these little secret passageways? Well, there are a few different ways. So one way is that you can actually try to swipe either left, right, up, down in a way that doesn't look like there's something there, but maybe there's a little light shining at the bottom, and these are secret areas, which you can either find secret doors, you can either get more treasure chests, which at least help you to 100%, and also find secret paths. Now, when it comes to these weird doors, there are these gems you can see up here. Some of them are given to you via like stuff that would always happen during the story. Some of them are in treasure chests that are hidden, like I just mentioned with the secret paths, and other ones actually can be bought. So you do have currency in the game, which when you hear mobile and you hear in-game currency, if you're like me, you get really, really nervous. But here's the cool thing. After this $3 purchase, to purchase the entire game, you cannot download the game for free. So you purchase the $3 game. There are no in-app purchases. None. None whatsoever. So if you are in a position where you need more actual currency in-game, when you see this shrine and you see these 3 items, that you have to pay for one of them, maybe some of them are health items, status items, or just something that, like a red gem or something like that you're like, man, or even a badge, you're like, man, I really need this. Well, go kick some more enemies' butts. You will be able to get more currency that way. You can actually go to earlier levels if you just want to level up, grind a little bit more. You can go to earlier levels, get some of that currency to be able to purchase those items, and you'll be just fine. My favorite one to use is actually to increase the star points per turn. So what that means is that I can use all my star points, then increase my star points, and then do it all over again. It's real fun, especially when you max out, or don't max out, but you get really, really high up in terms of the levels, and you can just decimate an entire team of enemies. It's fun. I'm a fan. Now, when it comes to the runtime for this game, it's about 7 to 8 hours. I don't believe I mentioned that before. Not a lot, obviously, but for me personally, when it comes to, a mobile game, having to hold it, tap a lot, I do think that 7 to 8 hours is enough, especially if I'm playing it, in the bathroom or in more sanitary places. Then I do think that actually is not so bad, really, to have a 7 to 8 hour experience. And to have this experience, by the way, not be in any way tampered with, not to, throw in microtransactions or anything like that, just to have the full experience on here is awesome. If you don't know the show, it's still easy to follow. Even with that little rundown I gave you at the beginning, I still think it's easy to follow. You can really get what's going on in the story. There's nothing that's too deep in that doesn't make any sense. You know, they're fighting these creatures. They are crystallized humanoid forms from another planet, and Steven is Steven. So you get everyone, through cutscenes and dialogue. There isn't really much recorded dialogue that's unique outside of the opening cutscene in the game, but still, I do think that, if at any point it does make you go, I don't really like this, you can just turn the volume down. You can also change it in the settings as well, but you can just turn the volume down, and I do think it's a fun experience with or without the audio. Now, the soundtrack, by the way, is fun as well. When it comes to the actual battle mechanics, I do think that if you're going with just the plain old attack, repeat, double tap, it can become monotonous over time, just with how many different fights you might be getting in. Sometimes you get ambushed as well. It can feel monotonous. But I do think the abilities are where things get interesting. So you can do different abilities that characters have clearly shown that they can do within the show. So nice little references there for longtime fans of the show. By the way, just quick little side note here. Because the game came out in 2015, the show was in its second season at the time, I believe. And so with that, you can actually see that it canonically can take place around that time. So even if you wanted to watch the show to play this game, you're not really watching a lot with 11-minute episodes for about, 50 episodes or so. So not too bad. But back to the game itself, back to these different abilities. Yes, they do take up, there's more risk and reward there. They do take up more star points. But I do think that they can be worth it. I actually didn't use a lot of them during my playthrough because I was just a fan of just the old tried and true double tap, kick some butt. But in this case though, yes, you can use them. If you time them just right, you can do some really fun things. And something very interesting in this game that's in the show. So gems can fuse. They can fuse to become a bigger, stronger gem. Yes, it can help them fight, but some gems do it out of love. So normally the crystal gems don't really fuse with each other, but for the most part though, they can. Like, it's just that they usually don't because they're like, we're not really the best fit, or maybe this isn't the best, or we're just not really the biggest fans of this, but they can. In this game, there is a fusion of all three of the gems, just like there is in the show, and it deals so much damage. But you do have to use 9 star points, which means that you actually have to add extra because you don't get 9 automatically. And you also have to have full health for all 3 of them. So it's gonna hurt both you and the opponent. I mean, it could literally just end a match right there. So that's actually pretty fun, and it was definitely something I did not expect. So, is this game worth it? Well, here's the thing. If you're not a fan of the show, and everything I've explained to you about the show makes you go, I don't know, it doesn't really seem to be for me, not really my thing, you're not a fan of RPGs, then no, this game is definitely not for you. But if anything I've said so far has interested you, if you just want a mobile game experience that is not tied to trying to take money out of your wallet, then I do think that this game could be for you. This game was definitely for me. If you're a fan of the show, you really have to try this out. Whether or not you loved it, you liked it, this game is a must play if you're a fan. If you've played the sequels, it very much is like obviously it is a prequel canonically, but it is very much like a prototype version of those. So if you've played those 2 games, Protect the Light and Defend the Light, I think. No, what are the names of those games? They're on my face right now, don't worry. But either way, if you are a fan of those, I would highly suggest checking this out. I know that mobile gaming is both very popular and also not, and I've been in the not category for years, but I think this definitely was one that piqued my interest, and I can't wait to play some more mobile games and talk about them on this channel. Not going to become mobile exclusive by any extent. I have so many other scripts ready to go. By ready to go, I mean I've recorded them, but I have to edit this, or I have to record this, or I have to edit that, but I have so many other ones that are actually, either handhelds or console games, traditional games that we all know and maybe or maybe not love, depending on the game. But in this case, I do think that this is something that should be talked about. We should be talking about good mobile games, or even putting down bad mobile games. We should be talking about them because, I mean, look, they're here to stay. It's not like they're going anywhere. So we should definitely give them either the credit or the shaming that they deserve. And I think in this case, it's credit definitely check it out. So if you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe. If you don't like the video, you can still like and subscribe either way. I won't judge you. So love you all, take care, and tune in next time. So see ya.